To hot topics now, and the New South Wales government is under pressure this morning ahead of a looming Sydney-wide rail shutdown that threatens to throw the city into chaos. Unions are demanding a 32% wage rise over 4 years, with the government to hold crisis talks again today before the strike takes place. It comes as Labor Premier Chris Minns is reminded of comments made 2 years ago where he called for the then Liberal Transport Minister to be sacked over a rail strike on his watch. For their take, let's bring in the founding director of Western Sydney Women, Amanda Rose, and broadcaster Neil Mitchell. Morning to you, Amanda. Goes to show you that you have to be ready for words spoken in opposition to come back to bite you when you're in government. Does someone need to answer for this strike?
Yes, and this is a classic case of be careful what you put on social media in general, especially if you're in a position of leadership. So the issue with this strike is the fact that the pressure this is putting on families, in particular in Western Sydney, who would normally, rely on public transport, now they have to pay tolls, and, that could put people over. So that might end up being $50, $100 if they have to travel for 3 days, and that could be their food or, what they're doing on Saturday night and paying for their families. And I think that needs to be considered. I also believe that governments should be able to have the ability to negotiate very strategically without it leading to this particular scenario. I don't want to jump on their backs with what he tweeted, because that's kind of politics, but it's really important that we actually look at the real world impact on the everyday families from something that seems small but actually has a ripple effect.
Yeah. Neil, what do you think here? We talked to the police minister who negotiated the big police deal. She said the Police Association came to them and said, we've got big savings here, and that's why they ended up with a pay rise. How do they work out the transport one?
I don't know how they work it out. In Victoria, it'd be easy. We'd just give them the money and put up taxes. It's the way they tend to run things. But I'll give you a tip. As an old industrial reporter, I don't think it'll happen. I think it's just a bit of chest thumping. I think they'll call it off. There's some hopeful signs from the union leader last night who said, there've been some reasonable points made. They want public support. If they do this, they lose public support. The government doesn't want to give them this amount of money because it's $2 billion, and they won't get that amount of money. It's an ambit claim. I think it's a bit of chest thumping. It might go to the wire. I think it will be called off, and if I'm wrong, I'm unavailable next week.
Okay. We'll put a pin in it, as they say, and get back to you. Moving on, it's been revealed that social media companies will be forced to pay up to $50 million in fines if they're found to have systematically breached the federal government's new social media age ban laws. Neil, what do you think of this? Is it going to work?
Well, I hope they've got a panel full of 12-year-olds advising them, because the kids will find a way around it. And as yet, we have got they're looking at how they can actually enforce this, and I'm not sure they can. But the $50 million fine is interesting, because how much do you fine a big tech company? I mean, $1 million at the moment is ridiculous. $50 million, well, Elon Musk spends that on Trump T-shirts in a week. What's the appropriate amount? The other thing is, it's good to see political unity on this, because both sides support it. I wish they could do it on some of the other bigger issues as well. Yeah,
look, it sounds really good, Amanda, but is that per kid that they find that's on social media underage? And then how do they find them? If my kid plugs in a fake ID and gets on social media, do they get fined 50 mil for that? Then how do they find them?
Well, exactly. I think this is just something that they're saying to make everyone feel comfortable that they're going to regulate and make sure it's working. I don't believe it's going to work, because if you look at the taxes that these big social media companies are paying, they only pay 10%. Well, they claim that 10% of what they make in Australia is taxable and only pay tax on that. So how are you going to get them to actually pay for a fine? And then how are you going to actually prove that it was breached? And does that mean that we have to then look at a child and attack them or call them out for the breach, which we don't want to do because they're vulnerable? So I think it's something that sounds good, but it's totally unrealistic.
And if you talk to a lot of tech experts, they say the only way you're going to do this is if you allow them to put facial ID into apps. Are parents happy about having their underage kids or their above 16s into apps? Maybe a lot are. That's the only way this is going to be achievable? I don't know. It feels like it's great in theory, but still lots of questions.
Well, register through MyGov is another idea they've got. Don't ever use MyGov. It's hopeless.
Yeah, I know.
It's no good. It just wouldn't work. Imagine kids trying to do that.
Maybe they can do it more than we can, because I'm with you. I can't work it out either. Now, finally, the Adelaide City Council is considering introducing a 30k per hour speed limit for all city streets in a push to promote a safe urban environment for residents and businesses. Amanda, this is one of 3 options under consideration by the council. What do you think?
Look, Adelaide's so chill, so I think, you know, everyone's relaxed there. It probably works out well. But I think that they're doing this in a lot of councils to get people comfortable with very slow cars, so they give up and walk everywhere and catch public transport.
Is it going to work? Neil, 30Ks, you've got less chance of dying, a lot less chance of dying.
Well, you have, but we're the leading nanny state in the world here. We've been doing it for a while, and Collingwood, Richmond, Fitzroy, that area, most of the streets are 30Ks. It remains to be seen if it's made any difference. I think it's too easy. I think the bigger answer is to fix the road furniture, to have better lighting. 30% of people who are victims as pedestrians are over 70. Let's focus on them. Let's help them. Let's get a bit... And look, in 1865, there was a thing called the Locomotive Act. You had to walk in 60 yards in front of every car with a red flag. Let's introduce that. That'll make things safer.
Really? OK, you can lead. We'll let you. Thanks very much, Neil. Oh, and before we let you go, on behalf of Sunrise, we want to wish you a happy birthday, Neil.
Hey, happy
birthday. Thank you very much. That's very kind.
Thanks for being on. Hope we're the first to wish you a happy birthday. Yeah. See you next week.